Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's get started.
Straight from New York, yo, this handsome man,
You are now tuned in to Aljo, the Funkmaster. Watch your grill, you'll get knocked out cold fast. And talking shit, now we talking facts. Whether mount or off the back, you in trouble, came to burst your bubble. I don't shelter punches, they find home on your mind about the double. This the weekly scraps. You don't need a map, GPS, I'm right here to lead the dash. The world doesn't know it needs, but I grow disease, planning fuck a name and the fame. Only legacy remains. Remember the name, Aljamain Sterling.
It ain't shit,
motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps, episode 104. Man, we had a great card that delivered in UFC 254, Abu Dhabi Fight Island. Amazing card, and the retiring of, in my eyes, a living legend in Khabib Nurmagomedov. I got it. Yes. Yes. So Khabib retires after another spectacular performance, and yes, man, the guy does it again, 29-0. How can this man be stopped? I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone out there who can really beat this guy. It's actually quite fascinating to see the amount of success this guy has in the octagon time and time again. Now, just for clarity, there's some people who jumping in the comments. You say one thing and they take it left field and they just start attacking you. All I ever said was Iaquinta was the only person that I could see that gave him some pushback. And then someone said, well, that's because he decided to it was easier to just jab him and smash his face. And I'm listening and I'm like, you think Khabib didn't want to take him down and choke him out? You think Khabib didn't want to take him down and try to put him in a Kimura? You think Khabib didn't want to take him down and try to ground and pound him and get him out of there? I think he did. And I think it was just a lot more difficult because he actually ran into a guy who had Jiu-Jitsu plus wrestling. Gaethje has the wrestling. Doesn't have the BJJ. Dustin Poirier, he has some BJJ, doesn't have the wrestling. You could say he kind of does, not really. No, not on the standard level of a Khabib, a Justin Gaethje, a Henry Cejudo, a Daniel Cormier, a myself, Tony, maybe Tony Ferguson. I don't know how well Tony Ferguson actually did in college, or even like a Kevin Lee or Gregor Gillespie. That's the type of wrestling I'm talking about. I don't think he had that in that fight or has that background or puts in much time into that aspect of his game in comparison to the other guys who pretty much live by wrestling, die by wrestling for the most part. And I'm not saying Khabib started to realize he had more success, but at the end of the day, give Al his credit where all I'm saying was Al was able to gut out 25 minutes after training for a 15-minute fight. And he had to get thrown into the Shark Tank with a guy who does this time and time again, had a full training camp. Al had a full training camp for a striker. He didn't do any wrestling because his knees were bugging him. That's all I'm saying. Just give the guy some credit. I'm just saying, if you understand the backstory, you will see how impressive that even in losing, it's kind of a moral victory, even though it's kind of weird to say that as a fighter. It's like, well, I'm morally... You know, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, just saying, in hindsight, it could have been so much worse, like it has been for everybody else. And obviously the Gleason T-Bow fight, I realized, I looked that up, that was not a split decision, so correction, that was actually a unanimous decision. But I thought each and every round was super close, that I was actually surprised that none of the judges gave a round to Gleason. But that's neither here or there. 29-0, perfect record, still intact, last three performances. And for me, I look at that performance against Gaethje and I have to break it down where I'm like, it almost felt like Gaethje's game plan was to sprawl the entire fight, which is exhausting. Every time you see him crouch low, he started off great for the first minute, landed like 2 leg kicks in the first minute, if I remember correctly. And I was like, okay, he's got 2 in the bank already. If he can keep adding to that piggy bank, this fight can get very, very interesting if he can compromise Khabib early. Unable to do that. Khabib was able to eventually put the pressure on him. And every time Khabib pushed forward, Gaethje was loading up or getting ready to sprawl, which I call like burpees. He was trying to do burpees the entire fight, which I thought was a little crazy, to say the least. You can't constantly, just try going to the gym, and every time someone taps your legs, you do a half sprawl, and then get up and try to throw, not even, I don't want to say a barrage of punches, but try throwing like 2-3 punches, and see how exhausted you are in that short of a time frame. And that's why I'm like, for him to think that that type of game plan for over 25 minutes, obviously he was trying to clean his block. You've seen some of those punches he threw from the wazoo just whiffing. Just clean back. Like, I was like, dude, this guy is trying to decapitate Khabib right now. And I think maybe if he had gone to the body a little bit more with those haymakers as opposed to headhunting and just completely missing, the fight could have possibly been a little bit different. If you ever been punched in the gut, it freaking sucks. It hurts. And I'm just saying, a guy like Justin Gaethje who hits that hard, if he did manage to go to the body and did get a clean shot, just one clean shot, that could have paid a lot of dividends for the remainder of the fight or however long the fight was going to go. Eventually, Khabib gets him against the cage. He in the first round, Gaethje throws a kick. Khabib tries to catch that left foot. Gaethje gets out. He comes into like a half clinch. Gaethje gets out of there. He circles back. Khabib stays on him. There's about 42 seconds left on the clock. Khabib shoots, and it's a clean shot. It wasn't the perfect shot, but Justin goes over the top, doesn't get an underhook in. He just, over the top, Khabib gets right in. And within 5-8 seconds, Khabib is already trapping the legs, figure four, and he's advancing to mount. Watch his right leg as he knee slices over and splits Gaethje's left leg and right leg. So Khabib's right leg goes through the middle, and from there, this is what we call like a lower leg smash pass. So he's splitting the middle. He's compromising the upper body with the right hand underhook. So he has Gaethje's shoulders, I don't want to say pin, but Gaethje doesn't know much jiu-jitsu, so he doesn't try to go inverted. He doesn't try to do anything from that position that can get him back to his feet. He doesn't try to go butterfly hooks. It was actually bizarre, and let me get to that in a second. But so Khabib slices the middle, then takes his left leg, almost like a windshield wiper, but passes over that left knee of Gaethje. So his right leg over, his left leg now passes over the left leg of Gaethje, and from there, he advances to mount, and right away he goes to S-mount. Transition to S-mount, he doesn't even step up by the hip and then slide the knee up, like the way at least my sensei has taught me, Matsura. He just steps up and just sits to the S-mount, right for the armbar, right away. And I'm confused. I'm like, dude, one, that was an easy transition. He didn't even have to do it the textbook way. And maybe that's his textbook way. But my textbook way of the way I was taught, he gets the S-mount, starts to go for a bicep slice. I don't even know if you realize how much time was left in the clock. But I'm like, dude, if this guy finishes this submission in the first round with a buzzer beater, that is just ridiculous. Now, what I was going to say was the fact that Gaethje even got this far with having little to almost no jiu-jitsu whatsoever, it's mind-blowing. It's fascinating. Now, I'm wondering, being that Khabib is retired, does that leave any more room for him to want to go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, I'm going to try to develop my game to become more of a complete mixed martial artist? I don't know. The one guy you couldn't get past is now exiting the game. Who else do you have to worry about that has dangerous jiu-jitsu other than Tony Ferguson? A guy you beat, you know? Ferguson in that fight didn't do any berimbolo or anything, trying to get the fight to the ground, pull guard, try to push him against the cage. He wasn't able to do any of that. So maybe Justin Gaethje decides to stick with the same game plan of what got him to the show and just continue to do what he's been doing, because it's been working, obviously. Fought for the interim world title, won it, and now fought for the belt. Came up short in a very big way. I will say Gaethje looked like he was having a lot of success with those leg kicks, and his coach even said in the corner, 8 more, but don't get lazy. I don't know if there was any. I don't remember hearing any addressing on the output that he was giving in terms of his energy consumption. it's just a hard pace to keep up, especially with a guy who's able to pressure you the entire fight. And it's very reminiscent of Merab. And the only difference, I would say, Merab has that crazy type of pressure because he's always going up and down looking for the takedowns. And it opens up his striking, which is what makes Merab such a dangerous opponent for anybody. The difference is he doesn't have the well-rounded ground game that Khabib has. That's the only difference I see with a guy like Merab and Khabib. Other than that, he's a machine. He's going to look to take you down 100 times. He doesn't give a shit, you know? Same thing with Khabib. You take him down, you stuff a shot, he's just like, okay. What I love, Khabib, he points, and then he goes for the flying knee in the first round, hits Gaethje, and then the second time he goes for the flying knee, Gaethje does a spin move out of it. I'm just like, yo, this fight's fucking crazy. But second round, Gaethje throws a kick, Khabib catches it, sits him down into like that double twist position, catches, falls into it, sits down, cuts the corner, double twist, takes him down, picks up where he left off in the first round, transitions into mount, and once again, goes for the S mount, but this time for the S mount, he steps into a mounted arm triangle. He traps Gaethje's wrist. They're against the cage. He takes his right hand, grabs Gaethje's left wrist, pins it down, steps over the top, grabs his ankle. As Gaethje tries to explode to come forward and to try to turn into his guard, you're already done. That he's already got his ankle locked. He crosses the ankle, locks it in with his far side leg, which would be his right leg. Nope. So what did he step in the mount? Right leg steps over, falls over, boom, left leg. Yeah, so he steps over, he locks it in, catches the ankle, pulls it down. Gaethje steps up. Khabib takes his right hand and catches the underneath the ankle, and that's game blouses. Now, if Gaethje had known some basic jiu-jitsu defense in a situation like that, you know never to stand up with the same side that your arm is free. So if you got my right arm in a triangle, which I believe that's where Gaethje was trapped, the right arm, this left arm and this left leg, I never stand up because this left arm is free. I never stand up with the left side that's free because it allows my opponent to now go underneath my leg and get a better angle and a better bite on my shoulder, which allows for more compression on the carotid artery. Now he's got my arm trapped, he's pulling my head down, and he's got the leg. You're just done. You're done. I don't know what else to say. You're a well done steak right there. And if Gaethje has stepped up with the right leg instead and tried to throw the right leg over the top or even posture. So Khabib's got the head pulling it down. If he stepped the right knee, put it in the hip, and try to attack the knee line and posture up, or even spike his head to the mat and then try to break down the lock of Khabib, try to tire out his legs a little bit more, it could have been a different fight. But this is what happens when you don't know your ninja skills. You gotta get your ninja skills down. Get your BJJ on. Go to BJJ gym near you. Maybe one day I'll open up a school, and maybe one day you can come train with the kid. Hey, if you like this stuff and the content I'm bringing, please hit the like button. I hate saying that because it just sounds like I'm begging for something, which is so weird. But it helps with the YouTube algorithm stuff, and I don't understand the algorithm stuff. So if you like it, hit the like button. It makes it easier for everyone else to find. So Khabib retires, gives a speech. Alhamdulillah, inshallah. That all that stuff is great. Gives a shout out. That moment that he has right there where he breaks down, starts. You could tell he's crying. Might not have been bawling and everything like the Michael Jordan meme, but you could tell he's having a very emotional breakdown, letting it all sink in for his father, talking to his mom, telling his mom he was gonna retire. She doesn't want him to fight no more. He told her this, so he said he has to honor his word. And I do think he's honest, and he's gonna honor his word that he gave to his mom, and he's gonna honor that and not come back. But maybe if she changes her mind, that could be something down the road that they possibly revisit, especially with the dad wanting him to go 30-0. Maybe if GSP, like he said, leaves the door open and he comes back and he entices them, and maybe it's 1 or 2 years apart, Khabib comes back, automatic fight for the belt or something. Or maybe it's just a blockbuster fight that doesn't need to be a belt, just make it a 5-round to him versus GSP would be phenomenal. That's a huge fight. And I could only imagine. I couldn't imagine what Khabib was going through. I'm not even that close with my father. We don't have the bond. He didn't teach me anything really other than how to drive a car. From what I remember, taught me how to count money, but it wasn't the most father-son way to teach. It was just kind of like, what are you, stupid? You keep messing up. You're dunce, blah, blah, blah. You can't count. Give him the money for count. Like things like that. So there wasn't a lot of cultivating between my father and I for me to be like, you know what, I'm very appreciative of my dad for everything he's done. He's a big part of my life. He's taking me to wrestling tournaments, this, that, and the third. He did not. I don't have that relationship. So I can only imagine what it's like to have someone who's been there for you time and time again, pretty much showed you the ropes to how to become a man and made you to who you are today. And to lose him, I can only imagine what that feels like. And I keep saying I could only imagine, but yeah, I could only imagine. But at the same time, I couldn't imagine because I don't have really anyone that I looked up to from that young of an age. Now, you know, I'm a lot closer with my mom. I'm very, very close with my girlfriend, obviously. And there's a couple of other people I'm very, very close with. But to have that bond from like a childhood bond, I don't think there's anyone I'm really like that with on my family side. It's kind of sad to even say that, but it is what it is. So I felt that moment, and it was very inspiring to see. And Khabib, do whatever you want, man. Now you like you said in your interview with Akamoto, you're gonna be free. You can do whatever. You're an eagle. So you can do whatever you want. You're the man. You deserve this. And it's just his career is just fascinating. His last 3 wins, all spectacular finishes. I know the argument about the GOAT with Jon Jones. That's a whole different thing. Now, Jon Jones has a ridiculous resume. He's also been a lot more active than Khabib, outside of the suspensions, the Pico Gate stuff, and the hiding under the octagon thing, and, you know, all the other stuff that causes someone to take away GOAT status from anybody, you know, outside of the ring, outside of their sport altercations and things like that. Khabib is like the Muhammad Ali, and you could say Jon Jones is like Money Mayweather. Similar. Not saying exactly that thing. He fights very safe, doesn't take that much damage. Khabib doesn't take that much damage, but he's dominating. Jon Jones was dominating. Now, to see what he's done before, like of late, is nowhere near as impressive of what Khabib doing to the latest and modern day warriors, where Jon kind of had that run where he was finishing everybody against Stephan Bonner. Obviously, he was very young at the time, so you have to factor that in. So that counts for something. Vladimir Matyushenko. But these are older guys. Quentin Rampage Jackson, older guy. Very one-dimensional. Chael Sonnen, very one-dimensional. And even very one-dimensional, but not very dangerous. You know the type of fight you're going to get with Chael Sonnen, and that's no disrespect to him. But these are the guys he's beating. Vitor Belfort, that was a very dangerous opponent who actually almost took Jon Jones' arm home with him. So I try to give him a lot of credit for that, because pretty much his entire career has been title fights, which is ridiculous to even think about. So in that regard, yes, he is the GOAT in that regard in terms of accolades and what he has accomplished in the sport. But at the same time, I'm looking at the latest performances and the new modern day MMA fighter. And yes, I did say Gaethje doesn't have any jiu-jitsu, but he's a very damn good wrestler. He's a power puncher, and he can kick like nobody's business. So he can dirty box. So he has a very good hybrid blend of MMA. He's not doing stuff like spitting off the cage and jumping off the cage and spinning back kicks and wheel kicks. He's not doing all that. But Ferguson, Gaethje, Kevin Lee, Edson Barbosa, Ally Quinta, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, like those are the guys that Michael Johnson and Conor McGregor. So I look at this resume. Based on the resume alone, I think of late, Khabib has went on a ridiculous run. But this is an argument. You can't really have this argument with people because everyone's going to say this. They're going to say that. Oh, he fought him in his prime. Oh, he wasn't in his prime. But this number, and what about that number? He took this amount of strikes. You can make the argument that Khabib has never dropped a round based on paper. Some of the judges gave Justin Gaethje round 1. Get the fuck out of here. What fight were you watching? What fight were you watching? John Jones has been in a wars, split decisions. Khabib hasn't had that. I think that alone makes for a very strong argument for Khabib to arguably be the GOAT. You could say the same thing about GSP. It's a little bit different. There's a guy who trains with me, and I train at his gym that beat GSP. You know, I could go on the most ridiculous run after this, win the belt, defend it 6-10 times. Are people going to call me the GOAT? Probably not, depending on how I did. Say I finished everyone in the first, second, and third round. I still think people are going to give me a hard time. Oh, well, he lost to Marlon Moraes. He sent him to the shallow realm. So special circumstances, 2 split decision losses, and I still think people will give me a hard time. And I think that's why people are giving John Jones a hard time about this. And I know people are saying the whole thing about race. I don't think John's statement should be taken to heart like that. I think John used that in the wrong place. I don't think being black and how much harder we have to fight for stuff actually pertains to this situation. I think John was probably just on a little bit of an emotional rant with that. And I do empathize and understand where he's coming from, where usually the way I learned it is as being a black man, people are going to say whatever. You can have your criticism, drop it in the comments, whatever you feel. But as a black man, I know when I'm good at something, my counterpart, I have to be that much better in order to get the respect, because it's still, this notion of things are still said or explained or rationalized with, oh, that's good for a black person, or that's good for a woman. That's good for, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're saying that's good, but you're still setting a bar or your standard of your people or your gender or your kind or your age group. It's still in a box. It's not allowed to have an open ceiling. You have to break that glass ceiling in order to expand and get the full recognition and be compared to the greats of all greats. That's great for a fighter. Don't say that's great for a, that's where you start to demean and take away from things. And I think that's where John was going with that. But I don't think that's what he meant. And I think his words got translated the wrong way. Sometimes I think people read too much into things and they can get a little crazy. Outside of that, co-main event, Robert Whittaker looked phenomenal against Jared Cannonier. I was getting a little bit worried about those leg kicks, but Robert Whittaker was with that piston-like jab. He threw a kick early that supposedly broke the ulnar bone of Jared Cannonier. Cannonier, I don't know. I'm going to say Jared. Whittaker looked great. He looked like back in prime form. And it's fascinating to see how much smaller he is from these guys, Yoel Romero, this fight, Jacare, Izzy, and how well he's able to perform. The Izzy fight, obviously, barring that's a tough fight. They asked him about the rematch, and he himself even said, dude, I don't know. That's a tough fight. I'm not thinking about that right now. At some point, sometime, we can revisit that. And as of right now, I'm just kind of can't wait to get back home to his kids and whatnot. Great fight. I know Dana White's talking about making that fight again. We'll see what happens. Maybe give him a break. Give him some time. Take the holidays. Maybe see if he gets the itch to want to get that rematch. But right now, both guys are doing their thing. And Whittaker's always going to be one of the main players at that middleweight division. Volkov versus Walt Harris. My heart goes out to Walt Harris, man. Comparison. Khabib loses his father. It's not played 1,000 times during your fight week. It's not played 1,000 times right before you walk out. Walt Harris, his daughter gets kidnapped. She gets murdered. They play it over and over and over again and make it the main selling and talking point for him before 2 big moments of his life. And he ends up faltering and coming up short twice. And it sucks. I hate to see a good guy like that lose. I've met Walt multiple times, and he is a great dude inside and outside of the octagon. And I do hope he can get back in the win column and continue to make a run towards the title. You know, sometimes the race is not for the quickest, it's for those who can endure the longest. And hopefully he can get through this tough, troubling times and get back on the horse and make a run again like he was before that unfortunate happening to his family and his daughter happened, you know. So that sucks. You never want to see that for anybody, especially a good person, man. You always want to see them come out on top. The same way Khabib did, the same way Cody Stamann did when he fought Brian Kelleher. And, you know, it's a tough task. And they did the same thing to Cody Stamann, and they tried to do it again when he fought Jimmy Rivera, came up short in that one. But you never know, man. You don't know what psychological effect these things are having on people and what they're dealing with emotionally, internally. Sorry about that. My girlfriend just called me, and I'm still using my iPhone as one of my cameras, and it got interrupted a little bit. So we're gonna have to take time to fix that later. But she's gonna give me some clarity. I'm a little congested with my nose, man. It's allergy season, and I didn't realize my allergies. I feel like they're getting worse. I could imagine that the change in weather coming from Vegas to back to here was pretty tough on the body to make that quick transition in terms of the weather changing so fast. But all right. But either way, good win for Alexander Volkov. He did a great job doing what he had to do, which was take out a tough opponent in Walt Harris. One guy that looked very impressive to me, Phil Hawes versus Jacob Malkoun. This was a great fight. 18 seconds in the first round. Dude, man, this guy landed he landed a grenade of a right hand on Malkoun, took him out, followed up with the punches, and I was like, dude, this guy is starting to believe in himself, and for the right reasons, and he is dangerous as it gets for anybody. The guy can hit, he can crack, and he's also a good wrestler, man. I was looking him up, I was like, because I remember seeing this guy in college, and I think he wrestled at Wartburg, if I'm not mistaken, which is D3. And he transferred from Iowa State. Yeah, Foundation Wrestling. Because I know he came out here to wrestle with Weidman for a little bit. That went really well for Weidman. And I know he went down there with John Jones and wrestled with those guys for a bit. I'm not sure where he is now. But I think he's still a phenomenal talent. And I think now this is 5 wins in a row for him. 5 finishes in a row, and most of them, pretty much all of them, in the first round. The Uri Fraga fight, I don't know. It says finishes, it says by punches, but it doesn't say how he won. Sorry, like what round. So tough dude, man. He's been around for a while now, and to see him go through those ups and downs and come back through adversity and still stick with it and develop a lot more as a fighter and as a person, I think is huge for him, and it's going to be huge for his career. If you guys hear that banging, it is the contractor Adam. He's helping me out. One of Marab's good friends that he used to work with, and he's doing the siding right now. He's doing a couple weeks because the whole COVID thing messed everything up, so he can only come a couple of days a week, and so it's taking a little bit longer than it should, but that's just, part of the game. Lauren Murphy looked good. She called out Valentina Shevchenko. I think rightfully so. She should be a serious contender. 1, 2, 3, 4 wins in a row. 1 finish, 1 split, 1 decision, and her last one is a finish. She said she's gonna be the champion next time she steps in the octagon. Is gonna be fighting for the belt, and she's gonna be the champ walking out. I'm just gonna say good luck with Valentina. She is a tough out. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it is a tough out. They said that about Matt Serra, and what did he do? He went out there and he shocked the world against GSP. I'm just saying it's a tough out. That's a very tall order, and she seemed confident, and I will say that is the best she's probably ever looked. Very composed, and she seems like she's coming into her own, even though she's a lot older than all these other females in this division. What is she? 37 years old. The beef between Magomedov and Ankalaev finally over. Magomedov and Ankalaev. The beef between Magomedov, Ankalaev, and Iwan Cutelaba finally over. We finally get some definitive action. And I will say Iwan was fighting well. He was fighting unlike himself, which is he tends to charge in. He tries to be like a bully. And in this fight, took his time, using a lot of head movement. Ankalaev doing a great job of circling, controlling the distance, measuring the range. Ankalaev is only 14-1, only losing to Paul Craig after dominating in his UFC debut. Got submitted at the very last second of round 3. How crazy is that? Taps out 4 minutes, 59 seconds in round 3, triangle choke to Paul Craig, the Beard Jew. Then from there goes on a ridiculous run. One win by head kick and punches. Then wins by decision. Then by front kick. Then by punches against Cutelaba. And then the rematch between him and Cutelaba. So technically he's on a 4-fight winning streak, but they're going to count that other one that should have been overturned to a no contest into a finish. So it's a finish, but it should be turned into a no contest, but whatever. We got to see what the fight should have been the first time. Cutelaba, he makes his own mistakes. And if you watch this last fight, he walks into these punches. He throws, he's wide open. Hit me. What are you waiting for? Like Britney Spears in Scary Movie. What are you waiting for? Is that Britney Spears? I hope that was Britney Spears and I didn't butcher that. But it's like that. Just walks right in there and yeah, it's just an easy target to say the least. Bam Bam Tuivasa comes out, makes a big statement against Stefan Struve. Man, I like Struve. This is a tough one. 32 years old. I know he had a huge heart problem, if I'm not mistaken. Retired, came back, but now he's lost 1 against Marcos Rogerio de Lima and lost 2 in a row by finish to Ben Rothwell and now Tai Tuivasa. I never wanted to tell someone when to close the door, but it might be that time. It just doesn't seem like he's making any more progress or gains in his skill set. The skyscraper, 6'11", 32 years old, a reach of 84.5 inches. I like Struve. He's a nice guy. It's tough to see a nice person just continuously take damage like that. And especially if they're not making any improvements in any areas where it's like, okay, he can still compete. I'm not really seeing that, and that's what makes it tough for me. So hopefully he has a real serious conversation, or maybe the UFC could throw him a bone and give him a competitive fight where, you know, he can maybe go out and maybe make it a 15-minute banger, or he could go out and get a win. But congrats to Tai Tuivasa, who the Nelk boys weren't there, so he didn't have the opportunity to do his shoey. Did I say that wrong? The Nelk boys were there, but they didn't have the bare cage side for him to do the shoey after getting the finish over Stefan Struve. But he got to do it in the back room and made up for it. Now, this fight, Casey Kenney versus Nathaniel Wood, what a barn burner of a fight. That first round was absolutely ridiculous. I thought the fight was 1-1 going into the third. The pace that those two guys came out with in the first round, banging leg kicks, banging combinations, both eating shots, slipping and ripping, to the body, to the legs, to the head. I'm like, yo, dude, this is what makes the bantamweight division so fun, because everyone is so freaking good. Casey Kenney used to be ranked, no longer ranked. Just won 2 fights in the span of 1 month, less than a month, if I'm not mistaken. Twice in this 1 month, and he is now on a 4-fight win streak, 3-fight win streak, only losing to Merab, and before that, winning 2 fights to Manny Bermudez and Ray Borg. So 2 decisions, then a decision loss to Merab, then a guillotine finish over Lou Smoker, and then 2 decisions to Alatang and Nathaniel Wood. But the way this guy fights, he's fighting to knock guys out. He's 16-2-1, 29 years old, 5'7", 68-inch reach. Used to fight at flyweight, now fighting at bantamweight. Main home for him now, and you can't tell that he ever fought at flyweight. He doesn't look small. He's super fast and very explosive. Has a really sharp left hand. Throws left kicks like it's nobody's business. And the guy's he's a gamer. You have to seeing that fight. You have to become a lot more impressed with a guy like Merab Dvalishvili, based on how well Kenney has been fighting of late. Like I said earlier in this podcast, Merab is a nightmare for anybody. I'm gonna be battery died. Some other impressive fights. Da Un Jung, Sam Alvey, draw, but either way, still a great fight. I thought Sam Alvey fought well. Da Un Jung came back in that third round, battled back. I thought it was the right decision. Sometimes there's not enough draws in MMA, in my personal opinion. There should be a lot more. This new kid, Rakhmanov, taking out Alex Oliveira the way he did, guillotine, and getting the finish over a guy who's a veteran like Alex Oliveira. First round, how many minutes into that? Oh, almost the end of the round, but looked great on the feet. Looked even better on the ground. Said that was his submission of choice. If he gets his hands around anyone's neck, pretty much, he thinks he can finish anybody. So that was a fun fight. I'm very interested to see how well he does and how he develops, being 13-0 and having such a huge win in his UFC debut. Miranda Maverick, nasty elbow that she hits on Liana Jojua. She just seemed to be the much stronger striker in there, and Liana she's tough, man, but you get elbowed like that, and it didn't break the nose, but it split her wide open, and it was nasty. That thing was deep. It was a huge gash. It was almost like you could pull the nose down and put your finger in it. It was gross. But other than that, man, good fight. A lot of fun fights. We have a huge one coming up this weekend in Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva, Bryce Mitchell versus Andre Filli, and Kevin Holland's back taking on Muradov, whoever, I don't really know who that is. I can't remember watching his fights. Bobby Green taking on Thiago Moises. Who else will we have? Marshman versus Sean Strickland. That should be an interesting one. I got to meet Sean Strickland down in Vegas at Extreme Couture and Syndicate MMA. Dustin, he's a very interesting guy. Dustin Jacoby versus Justin Lede. Miles John is back. Finally, I didn't get to see this guy fight in a while. He's taking on Kevin Natividad. Kevin Natividad. Okay. All right, so the main event that I'm looking forward to is Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva. Can he bounce back? Anderson Silva should be about 41. Oh, shit. He's 45. I'm wildin'. 62, 6'2", 77 and a half inch in his reach. He lost to Cannonier and Israel Adesanya by decision. He got finished by leg kicks in round 1 by Cannonier. And before that, he beat Derek Brunson by decision. And before that, he was on a 4-fight losing skid and won no contest to Nick Diaz. I don't know how much longer he's going to fight, but this should be a fun, interesting matchup, especially with the stand-up. Uriah Hall is 36 years old, 6 feet tall, with a 79 and a half inch reach. Big up Jamaica Spanish tone, you see me? This is a big fight for him. Obviously taking on a GO. Anderson Silva is the man, but if there's any time for Uriah Hall to get this guy and get a huge name on his resume, it's right now. Obviously, Silva is 45. It's not the same Silva of 5 years ago, not the same Silva of 10 years ago. But still Anderson Silva, to say the least, and he's still dangerous. We'll see how this one goes. I think Uriah Hall's got devastating kicks. I hope he doesn't beat up the legs of Anderson Silva. I can't see him damage like that again one more time to the legs is just a scary sight. We saw what happened when he fought Chris Weidman from the leg kick that was checked, compound fracture, and then Cannonier attacked his legs. I don't know if it was the same leg that was torn, that was broken, but either way, I just don't want to see this guy not able to walk in his late 40s. That's too early for that type of compromise to your health and your body, you know? So hopefully it's a striking affair up top. And if Anderson Silva kicks your legs, then fuck, man, you got to kick him back, right? You got to kick him back. The guy kicks hard. I can see Uriah Hall trying to let out some of his ninja skills, utilizing that long, strong, powerful jab that he has, that he hit Paulo Costa with time and time again. That fight could have went the other way for Uriah Hall if a couple things changed, but that's neither here nor there. I think a little bit more feints and not standing right in front of him could have dictated and changed the way that fight could have gone. And we could see a completely different trajectory for Uriah Hall right now. But he's on a 2-fight winning streak, beat Antonio Carlos Jr. split decision and Bevon Lewis round 3 punches. And before that, losing to Paulo Costa. So this is an interesting one to see if he can get back in that column. Anderson Silva, I just don't know what Anderson Silva we're going to get. Can he still move? We don't know. Can he still take punches like he used to? We don't know. When was Silva's last fight? It was 2019 in May. Okay, now this next one, Bryce Mitchell taking on Andre Filli. Bryce Mitchell is 13-0, featherweight, thug, nasty, 26 years young, 5'10", 70-inch reach. Took out Charles Rosa. I don't know how he didn't get the finish in that fight because he was torturing that man. Matt Sales, twister finish. Twisted Charles Rosa probably like 3 times in that fight. Almost got the finish, but didn't. Bobby Moffitt, decision. Tyler Diamond in his UFC debut after coming off the Ultimate Fighter. He went to majority decision. And before that, he lost to Brad Katona via rear naked choke on the show in an exhibition bout. But he came back and won in his debut fight in the UFC. So he's on a 4-fight winning streak right now. This could be the huge fight to propel him up the rankings even further and give him a next potentially top 5, top 10 name in the UFC division. Now, Andre Filli, 21-7 record. He's 30 years old, 5'11", 74-inch reach, much longer arms. Beat Charles Jourdain by split decision back in June. And he lost to Sodiq before that, Yusuf, back in January of this year. Decision. I thought that was a good competitive fight. Really tested Yusuf. And I thought Filli did a lot of good things. I thought he started to get away from what won him. I think he won the first round. I can't really remember, so I'm not going to try to butcher that. But it was a very close and competitive fight. I thought Yusuf just did a little bit more to get the decision in that one. And Touchy Philly's not too far off. And before that, he beat Shaman Moraes and Miles Jury. So this is going to be a very fascinating one. I don't think Andre Filli's got the best grappling. He's got some alpha male chokes that Uriah Faber teaches and all that. But predominantly, he's more of a well-rounded guy. Sits on the outside. I think his striking game has gotten a lot better. But I do think this is a tough fight for him stylistically. And if I'm the betting odds, I'm thinking that Bryce Mitchell is coming out the favorite for this one. I'm trying to see where the odds are at on this. I'm not sure if they're going to have it. Betting odds. I think he is the underdog, yes. So I think they're looking at Bryce Mitchell's past few performances, his grappling and his cardio. He doesn't get tired, and the guy can just go. He can get this fight to the ground. It's going to be a lot of trouble for Andre Filli down there. I do think Filli needs to figure out how to stay off the cage, how to stay in space, which is the center of the octagon, and utilize some footwork to keep Bryce off of him. Now, Bryce isn't the most seasoned striker, but he's competent there. He knows what he needs to do to get the fight to the ground, and he's tough and he's durable. and he wants his goddamn camo shorts. So Reebok, I hope you got him. That's going to be a banger of a fight. We're not going to touch base on too many of these, but like I said before, there's a lot of good ones. I'm very interested to see how Bobby Green does with Thiago Moises, for the fact that Thiago Moises was getting pieced up pretty good against Michael Johnson, then coming back and catching him in an ankle lock in the second round in 25 seconds into the second round. And I thought Michael Johnson was about to get him out of there, and he was able to regroup, came back strong in that second round, and went right for the takedown, off the single leg, and pretty much just jumped for the leg lock. Michael Johnson looked like he never did a leg lock defense in a day in his life, because he kind of just sat there and hung out for it, just waited. But I think Bobby Green is seasoned enough on the feet where he can piece him up standing, and he has some solid takedown defense. We got to see that on display in his last one, I think. He's 34 years old. The Alan Patrick fight, who's not the greatest wrestler, but he was able to keep Alan Patrick from taking him down, which is pretty much all he wanted to do. Lando Venado fight, the rematch, that was a fun fight. And then the Clay Guida fight, able to stay upright and keep the fight standing. So I think that says a lot. Kind of had an up and down career of late. But now he seems to be on a decent run. 3 fights in a row. He was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight. Oh, more than that. When he was in Strikeforce, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fight win streak. Then dropped 3 to Edson Barbosa, Dustin Poirier, and Rashid Magomedov. And then came back, had a draw against Lando Venata, then beating Eric Koch, and then lost to Jakar Klaus and Francisco Trinaldo, now on a 3 fight win streak. So this is a fun fight for me. And whether or not Thiago Moises is just going to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to not waste any time and try to get this fight to the ground as soon as I can. If I got to grab a leg and just pull guard again, I will. And can Bobby Green keep him off of him and utilize his cleaner, crisper boxing that Thiago still needs to work on? Maybe he did in his past few months, but we're going to find out this weekend. As always, guys, thank you for always tuning in. I had some technical difficulties with this. My girlfriend called me, stopped the camera. My battery died, stopped the camera. I got a lot of editing to do right now, and it's not going to be that fun to do, but I'm going to get this podcast up as soon as I can for you guys. Thank you for always tuning in. And remember, if you like this shit, subscribe to this shit or spin it back, bitch, baby. Boom. See you guys later. Peace.